Welcome back to Poke Nation. It's a privilege to have JR Griffin, a director of strength and conditioning here. Welcome to Poke Nation, my man.
I appreciate it. It's an honor and privilege to be here.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Does he work you out?
Huh?
Does he work you out?
No. He'd hurt me. He'd hurt me. So let's get to it. It is Monday the 6th, right? So football camp, kids are reporting, basketball is reporting. This is when you guys get busy, right? Absolutely. You and your staff. Talk to Poke Nation about what is your responsibility now, especially with football, because that's the next thing up. Talk about what you're doing. Talk about your plan for the kids, and I'll talk about how important it is, because my goodness, without you and your staff, we can't do what we do. Talk about what's the plan for the summer.
So basically our job as a strength and conditioning staff is to develop our student athletes physically, mentally, nutritionally. We cover all those aspects, and then to get them ready for their competitive seasons. And what we have coming up will be football and then basketball, and that's who mainly has a huge chunk of their offseason is this next 8 weeks, that next 8-week portion. And we're busting in today. Today is our first day. Really excited to have them all back on campus. Football, we have a lot of new guys coming in. So it's an important time for us not only to develop, but also for the team to gel and gain chemistry. Same thing with basketball. We have a lot of incoming basketball players as well. So we do all those things in the summertime. And it's just a really, really important time for us to train, develop, just physically and mentally and all those different aspects prior to the actual competitive season.
Right. So when you go, so you get them in, you test them, you weigh them. Talk about the tests that you put them through.
Sure. We do a lot of baseline testing to get a baseline, because some of these kids we don't know at all, right?
Yeah,
they're
sure.
brand new. So, and then also you got to think our football team, they had about 5 weeks of break prior to this, coming off of the spring semester. Mm-hmm. So, some guys have been working out, some guys have not. So we got to get a baseline test, conditioning test. Different speed tests. I don't do a 40 test the first day back, right. So we don't have increase the risk of a hamstring injury or something, because they maybe haven't been running that far of a distance. But weigh them in, get them on a height, hand size, arm length, wingspan. All the new guys who get that baseline testing. Then we go from there. I think it's important at the very beginning of the summer to get a good week of conditioning under your belt. Mm-hmm. So we call that GPP. I call it our GPP week, our General Physical Preparedness Week, which allows us to get a foundation for our aerobic capacity that will then allow us to develop into our strength gains and our hypertrophy gains and our power gains the remainder of the summer. So we just have to get a baseline, and then we go from there.
One thing is, the difference is back in the old days, or my days, it was all about powerlifting, getting guys bigger, stronger. Now, you're more into getting them more athletic too, aren't you? And becoming more of the conditioning portion more so, because Coach Goff and a lot of coaches want to play this up tempo. They have to be in shape first before you can worry about what size they are, right?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's going to come with pretty much every sport that we're dealing with, but especially football, we have to get our aerobic capacity up in order for us to work at a high tempo and increase in volume of our workload over the summer. Because look, our job from a physical development standpoint in the summertime, all we're doing is getting them prepared for fall camp. Then once they get to fall camp, that prepares them for the season. So we don't have to be ready for the season at the end of the summer. We do have the end of fall camp though. So at the end of the summer, we're just trying to get ready for fall camp. But yeah, we do, I'd say the best word I could use is we train holistically. All right? We're not trying to train for powerlifting or for Olympic lifters, but we are training to develop better football athletes. Right. That's our mindset.
So talk about this. So like when you go, will you test the squat, like the back squat, the bench, all those things?
Yep.
What do you test in power cleans too? What are the baseline tests that you're going to give to these kids?
Yes, sir. So we'll so all of our returning guys, they have baseline numbers that they finished out in the spring with. Okay, and we test in the back squat, bench press, power clean, vertical, 10-yard split, 40-yard dash, 5'10", 5 pro agility, a lot of the running stuff, a lot of the things that you see like on an NFL combine. And then we get our weight room numbers as well. Now, as far as from us, we won't do that week one. because
Right.
they're not ready to do that,
Sure.
especially
Yeah, sure.
our freshmen that are fresh out of
High
high
school.
school. We don't want to put them under a bar and say, go as hard as you can. We got a
Right,
risk for
right,
injury. So,
right, for sure.
we wait probably till around the end of summer, and then we'll do another test in the fall and just
Yeah.
go from there.
How important is the first week, considering you have so many freshmen, so many other kids coming in that are new to you, that you've got to establish kind of their baseline before you get into what their workout can be?
Absolutely. Extremely challenging for some of them as well, because you got to think these kids are 17, 18 years old.
Right.
This is their very first experience of college, is seeing my face and my staff's face. So, that's not an easy thing to do day one. But it's extremely important to get them in week one, get them comfortable being uncomfortable in this new circumstance that is college football and being a student athlete, and then getting them acclimated, being with their new teammates, and getting them along with our culture, things like that.
When we come back on Poke Nation, we're going to talk about not only conditioning, but diet as well after this. Welcome back to Poke Nation, talking training, diet. What's most important? Training, diet, all one thing? Because a lot of kids that come from high school don't have the diet. They've been eating mom's food and that. What's that shock like for some of them?
Oh, extremely shocking. I think a lot of kids don't even know what breakfast really means, right? At nighttime, I fast through the night. Breakfast is breaking the fast. That blows their mind day one whenever I tell them that, because it's the most important meal day for us, because we got to get food in our body and fuel to get going and doing all the things that we have to do during the day. And I always say, and I say this in our on-campus recruiting, I'll tell anybody this, but, training is king, but nutrition is queen. And the queen, in a lot of instances, is more important and the real driving factor there. So if our nutrition side is not correct, then we don't have a chance to actually develop physically.
You can't really what's the old saying? You can't outwork a bad diet, right?
Right, absolutely.
At the end of the day, you can't. Now, okay, so we start. The great thing is, if we go back, is you got this job in the spring.
Right.
And, and I remember Coach Goff said, okay, I'm going to give this guy about 3 weeks to prove himself to me. Talk about that time, and what do you think you did to allow Coach Goff to say, man, JR's my guy?
Well, I appreciate that opportunity as well, because you had something to do with that too. But yeah, extremely blessed to have that opportunity and to have it with Coach Goff. I think for me, I've been really blessed to have a lot of really good mentors very early on in my career, and some really good strength coaches that I've learned from and been around that have, prepared me to take on a position like this. And I think those first 3 weeks, that first month, it was just going out there and being myself and running it the best way I knew how, and relying on my staff to support me and for them to do a great job. And I can't compliment my staff enough. I think we have one of the best strength staffs in the country, and I think, and thanks to you, we have a big staff as well. We have 6 people on staff, which at this level in this conference, nobody else in this conference competes with that at all.
Well, it's funny, because when I went from coach to AD, I thought that there were 2 major issues that we needed to address day one. Was our strength staff was so thin and so underworked, and our training staff. And so the thing is the weight room and the training room, number one, have to work together. That wasn't the case. And number two, they're with the kids, the 400 athletes, more than the coaches are.
Right.
And burnout is real, mental health is real, and I'm so glad we were able to beef up both of those staffs. And on that note, let me ask you this. So now you're the head coach. Talk about the difference when you slide over, right? Now you're not just an assistant. Now you're the head coach and you oversee the entire weight room. Talk about that, and talk about how important your relationship is with Hunter Martin.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a director of an entire department, it's different, right? Because I wear kind of 2 hats. I'm the head strength coach for football, but I'm also the director of the whole department. Right. So, I think the biggest thing is, the responsibility falls on yourself. I think I'm just even more in a position to lead my staff to make sure, I'm living out what I'm preaching every day, which you should be doing anyways, what I was doing. But, I think it was honestly, it was a pretty good transition. But I think a lot of it had to do with the support that I had from my staff and the people that I had around me in other departments like Hunter Martin, who I have a great relationship with, which is very fortunate that, our strength and conditioning staff and our training staff, athletic training staff, is very cohesive. And we don't we're separate, but we're the same. I say the same thing with our football staff. I think in order for a football team to be in a good position, I think the strength staff and the football staff need to be one and the same.
100%.
A cohesive unit that's not completely separate, because we all have to be on the same page to service our student athletes the best way.
Well, and Jim, I'll tell you this, that happens more than you think. Like, there's silos, right? When I first got here, the weight room would not communicate with the athletic trainers. And I've seen places where coaches and the strength staff didn't go. It happens more than you think. And
absolutely.
to have the communication and everyone going on the same page now with all those departments, it's a huge positive.
One of the things, and we've talked about this in the past, is the last couple of years we've had such limited number of athletes here,
Right.
because of everything. That keeping them healthy, especially in football, was hard because we were playing a lot of young kids, and they were beat up. How do you get that to where you don't outwork them early in the year so that they're healthy in the mid-season?
Well, I think, for us, our number one job is to keep them away from harm, right?
For sure.
Is to keep them
Keep
off
out
the
of the training
training
room.
room, right?
Yeah.
Now, our goal is to build strong, durable, robust athletes, okay? And our number one goal is to be injury resilient, all right? And to help reduce the risk for injury by going through the training we do, by building up to be strong and durable and lasting. That's extremely important for us. And that's, if I'm building my program in the way that, we're going through it this summer, that's the one thing in mind. Like, is this exercise going to help us be healthier? Along with making us stronger and faster, more powerful. But in those things, in getting stronger and more powerful, we should be more healthy and more ready to take on that load come the fall.
When we come back, we'll get Coach's final words after this on Polk Nation, and good luck because you got a lot of newcomers coming in.